You know the part of refinishing furniture that I can't stand? It's those little nooks and crannies that you have to get into with a wire brush. And it doesn't matter how much scrubbing you do, it just never comes out exactly clean enough. So that's why I was going to paint this really beautiful dresser. I was going to paint the body and just leave the drawers like stripped and stained so I could reveal that beautiful veneer and just be like, you know what, we're just going to paint the body. But I went to Instagram and asked everyone, do you think I should paint it? Do you think I should refinish? Maybe do a combination? And everyone's like, don't you dare put paint on this beautiful dresser. So I listened. And so this video is me walking you through how I found this $16 dresser. Cannot believe it. I mean, they were practically giving this away, and how we're going to try to restore this, even though it's got some surface imperfections. And there are some spots where there is chipped veneer. So we'll work around that. Okay, so I'm using QCS, which is a finish remover. This is something that's quick, clean, safe. I made the switch about a year ago, and you can find the podcast link that I did about that time when I told you why I switched. So we'll talk a little bit about that going forward. Now, I don't know exactly what happened here. I was so excited to get started on this. I applied the finish remover, let it sit for a while, and then I totally forgot to record me removing it. But you will see that in other parts of this video. So that's why it's like literally jumping from me applying the finish remover to now I'm sanding. So I apologize for that. But sometimes, you know, when you get excited working on a project, you just want to like move forward and you forget to push record. So what I like to do is apply the finish remover, remove it, and then you're going to have some stained wood that's left. And that's what I like to use the orbital sander on. And I'm starting with 150 grit sandpaper, and I'm going over it about 1 inch per second. You don't want to go too quickly because you'll get those little, they call them pigtails, but they're the little swirly marks that you can get when you're using orbital sanders. Now, because this piece is vintage, it's from, I believe, the 30s, 40s, I want to save this hardware. I can clean it up by using some rub and buff, but it saves me money, and I think it actually keeps the integrity of the piece. And since I'm refinishing this, I don't want to go and try to get like modern knobs. It makes no sense. Now, if I was painting this, yeah, I would probably get different knobs, but I'm going to keep the original hardware. Set those aside and then start on the drawers. Now, I'm applying the QCS, and I'm going to let it sit, and then I'm going to come back and scrape. I'm going to use a putty knife, but here's the thing. You want to be careful that you're not gouging your wood. These can be, it can be over aggressive if you're like really trying to scrape this stuff off. So it's usually best to, you know, go through a couple of processes here. You might have to go through 3 processes, depending on how much surface finishing that needs to get done, right? This, I'm just kind of scraping this off into a tissue box. You can use a Amazon box, whatever. If you have to go through 2 or 3 processes, that's fine. Remove what you can, apply another layer, give it some time to work, maybe 30 minutes. I mean, you don't want it to completely dry on your surface. So while it's working, I'll come back and just add another layer of stripping agent so that it can stay wet and then continue to do its job. All right, make sure that you're covering your floors. Make sure that you are removing the appliques that's on your wood, especially if it's like a vintage piece. It's just held on by finish nails. You can, you know, clean this up with a wire brush and then reapply it. One part of it is broken, so I will have to glue that back on. And remember, when you're done stripping the wood, you definitely want to make sure that you're using the cleaning agent that comes with it. Because here's what happens. If you have any stripping stuff that's left on the surface, your sanding disc is going to get gummed up. And you're going to notice because you're going to turn it over and it's going to be all brown. And you're going to be like, okay, now I got to put a new sanding disc on. And have you seen the cost of sanding discs? They are expensive. And so you want to try to minimize that. So cleaning it up is important. You'll notice here that when I get to the edges, I'm actually using a little hand sander because I think around the edges, you have to be careful when you're using an orbital sander. If it starts to move or fall off the edge in any kind of way, it can gouge your wood. And if you're working with, most furniture is like, you know, veneer. And so that veneer is not very thick. And if you gouge it, then when you go to put some stain on it, you're going to tell the difference. You're going to tell that you've got a gouge there. So I think along the edges, if you can hand sand those, great. I mean, you'll have to do some final hand sanding at the end anyway, so you'll already have it on hand. Now you'll see that I'm saving some of the dust here. I'm going to use that later to see if I can fill one of the gouges that's on top, but we'll go through that later. When I started sanding one of the drawers, I noticed if you look there to the left, it's got some, I don't know what it is. It looks like there was something that just spilled on the drawer. I thought maybe it was something that I did. I tried to use a hand sander to get it out, but we'll see how that actually turns out towards the end when I put the new stain or the new finish on it. I'm hoping that it doesn't look weird. Anyway, I'm going through with a 220 grit sandpaper just to do a final sanding on that. And then look at this beautiful grain. Like this, I cannot believe that I actually considered at one point painting this. This grain, I mean, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I cannot wait to see what this looks like when I'm done. All right, so now we're going to do the sides. This is the part I'm not really looking forward to because this is where I've got to do that detailed edging, those nooks and crannies that I talked about. Oh, I don't want to do those. I'm trying to make sure that I'm not, again, gouging the wood. You don't want to create a further problem for yourself that you're then going to have to try to sand out. I like to have an old box nearby because this stuff is very watery. And here is the part that I despise. Oh, those legs, the nooks and crannies, the things that give me nightmares. Okay, what I would recommend is have a good set of wired brushes and let the stripping agent, let that finish remover do its job. And you're going to probably have to go over it multiple times, but the more finish that you can remove, the easier the sanding will be. Not that the sanding will be easy, but the more that's removed, it would make it a little more simple to do the sanding. And you want to remember again to clean the surface. Oh, and don't forget, you want to enroll in my Empower Tools 101 course. That is going to be coming very soon, so find the link down below on how to add your name to the wait list so I can teach you how to use power tools online. All right, back to the dresser. Get all of those little areas that are visible. You might need to get a smaller putty knife. You might need to just get a bunch of rags because this is a messy job. But the more that you can remove, when you go to put on the new stain or the new finish, it's going to look amazing. So remove as much as you can. The fun part is stripping and the difficult part is sanding. You're going to need a lot of different tools in order to get into those cracks and crevices. So have some of these multi-tools, some of these smaller or even handheld tools so you can get into those spaces. And you definitely want to get yourself a Dremel. This thing is amazing. You can get into little cracks and crevices. You can do cutting and all kinds of things. So they're only maybe about $50. Definitely get yourself one of these. All right, so the next thing was to just sand the sides and then finish with a hand sanding, trying to get into those corners because, again, trying to do that with an orbital sander is kind of difficult. And cleaning up the dust, of course. And when you're trying to do the edges of furniture like this, it can be very difficult. So make sure that you get some of these contour sanders, wrap your sandpaper around it, and it really just lets you get a profile sanded a lot easier than just trying to fold your sandpaper up and get it into the nooks and crannies. This was a big area of contention for me. How was I going to fill this gouge? This is veneer, and you can't sand that completely out. You have to fill it or replace the veneer. So I took a little bit of wood glue, some of that sanding dust, and made my own wood filler, hoping that when I go to put some stain on here, that I could get it to blend in. But here is where I kind of made my mistake. You definitely want to fill this before you sand your top. That way, when you're sanding it down, you're doing it in one fell swoop instead of how I did it, where I sanded the top and then I ended up having to go back and spot treat. So sometimes it helps to do things in the correct order. Now, this is where things got really interesting because I almost ruined this dresser. I took one of the legs and tested out tung oil, and then I took the other leg and tested out this gel stain. And it's oil-based, and I thought that I could layer both of them. I thought maybe I was going to do like a creative type of restaining of this dresser. Well, it didn't work out. And you'll see why in just a moment. But I applied a layer of tung oil. I thought that the tung oil was going to bring this drawer back to life. I didn't like the orangey tones that it brought out. And then I did the other drawer. And what you don't see here is that I did end up layering maybe one layer of the gel stain on top of this tung oil. And you're not going to believe what it did to the drawers. It totally turned them two different colors. I'm not kidding you. I was like distraught. What do? I don't know how to fix this. So I went to Woodcraft. I actually found some General Finishes water-based stain in Provincial. And I just happen to have a walnut board here. This is not the same finish, but it's the same type of wood. So I thought, well, let me just do a test on this board and let's see. I liked it. And you can see here that while I'm applying the water-based stain, it had the right color and I knew that it was going to work out. Now, here's the thing. Water-based stain, I had never really worked with it in this sort of capacity. I had no idea this stuff dried so quickly. And I didn't know that there's something called an extender that you should definitely be using with your water-based stains because it keeps it open a little bit longer, which means you have more workability time. And the more it's open and you can work, you don't have to move so quickly and you can get really even, consistent color. With water-based, if you're not using that extender, you've got to work really quickly and be careful not to let one section dry and then apply another coat and get lap marks. I kind of didn't know that at first, but I worked my way through it. Another thing is, I didn't like the smell of the oil base, and I have dealt with it in the past and I've just kind of accepted it, but I've got an air quality indicator in my shed now. And when I was both sanding and using the oil-based stain, I was getting some high numbers for formaldehyde. So you got to keep that in mind too. Water-based it's not toxic. It's not going to have the high VOCs. Just keep that in mind when working with this. Another thing to remember is that when you're working with water-based stain, it can go on really thick if you're putting on 2 coats, more than 2 coats. That's what the can told me. Don't put more than 2 coats. But also with the extender, it thins it out a little bit. So I think if you're using the extender, you probably could do more coats. But I did notice that if you're not using the extender, it's almost like paint and you don't really want to paint this on. So just keep that in mind. And I couldn't believe that I had to resand these 2 drawers again because of the tung oil and the oil-based stain. But I knew that I needed to do it. I mean, I didn't want to ruin this dresser. So I used a sheet sander, used a lot of sandpaper, and got those back to bare wood so that I could redo those. And these were the parts that I was really nervous about. I told you at the beginning of this video, I don't like doing nooks and crannies and legs and decorative parts because it takes a lot of sanding. And if you don't sand it properly, you're not going to get a good restaining. You're just not. You can't restain over old finish. But surprisingly, it went well and I liked how it turned out. So I was getting excited. And then, once that was done, then it was time to move on to the drawers. And I was also worried about the drawers a little bit because I didn't know if the wood had been completely saturated and penetrated with the oil and the tung oil. I just didn't know. So I didn't know how this was going to turn out. So each step of this project, I think there was fear and trepidation, but the only thing I could do is move forward. I couldn't stop in the middle of this project. And so that's what I would tell you. If you're working on a project and things don't seem to be turning out, don't be afraid. Just try to figure out a solution and keep going. Because when you get scared, you will put the project in the corner and you will just leave it for years to come. So yeah, I had my own fear, just like when I was about to refinish the top. All right, I am nervous. We have gotten everything done on this dresser except for the top. And honestly, I don't know how this is gonna go. It seems like it's a little spotty. I've got some spot over here that looks like the stain is not gonna go over it very well. This deep gouge, I don't know how it's gonna look. I'm worried. I'm gonna go ahead and do one more final sanding with a 200, actually no, I don't have 220. I have 180 grit sandpaper. I'm gonna do another sanding just to make sure that I've got things smoothed out as much as I can, and then we're just gonna wing it. And wing it I did, and let me tell you, I failed. So you see that I'm working in just a small section here. This is what you do not want to do, not with water-based stain that has no extender, because this is exactly what will happen. You will get those lap marks right in the middle and you will ruin your project. And I realized what was happening when it was going on, and I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe if I just put another coat over it, it'll blend in. Well, it didn't. And I did not want to go back and resand this entire top. So when everything was dry, then I did go over it with 220 grit sandpaper because I wanted to see if I could just remove some of those dark areas. And then I used a tack cloth, cleaned it up, and then went over it again. And you'll notice that I'm doing much longer, even strokes. Now, I didn't completely get rid of the lap marks. I am disappointed in that. But I learned, and this is where I figured out Oh, wait a minute, there's something called an extender? I had no idea. So now you know. And the hardware was up next. I love using Rub and Buff. This is something that I've been using for a long time. You can find a link down below to the blog post with all the materials list. But look at the before and after. It's amazing. You just rub it on with your finger, buff it, shine it, and then put it back on your furniture. So I wanted to use the original hardware because I think it makes the piece look more vintage and authentic versus just going to get like modern knobs. But it looked good, and I was ready to move on to the top coat. Look at how this top coat just brought this wood alive. This is why I love top coat. I mean, it's amazing. But again, it's something, this is water-based. It's something you have to apply in long strokes. And I'm using General Finishes high performance satin top coat. This top coat is kind of similar to the other water-based products. You have to move quickly, and you can't overwork this top coat, meaning if you keep rubbing it over and over and over and over, you're going to mess it up. You apply it liberally, run your paintbrush over it, let it set. I think it is kind of self-leveling. When it's done, it's going to look amazing. I usually like to do 2 or 3 coats. I only did 2 on this piece of furniture because at this point I was just ready to be done. But it will leave a milky appearance. That's fine. When it dries, it does not look milky at all. It actually looks really good. So you see, I'm just sort of smoothing everything out here, but not overworking it. But look at how that wood is just coming alive. And this is why I like to refinish wood, because I used to have like a really terrible appreciation for wood. But when you see that it's a live, living, breathing thing that can be brought back to life with just a little bit of TLC, it's worth it. It's so worth it. So this was the last part, finishing the top. And again, it was like, is this going to turn out? Is this going to look as good as I hope it's going to look? And I don't know about you, but I typically have that anxiety over all of my projects until I get to the end and I'm like, whew, okay, that could have gone wrong in so many different directions. So the next day, when it was dry, I did a very light sanding with 220 grit sandpaper and then did another coat. And I will tell you also, when you are putting on your top coat, do not shake the can before putting the top coat on. You will trap a lot of bubbles in the top coat. So just stir it up, do your coat. It's going to be a little milky if it's water-based. That's okay. It will dry clear. I'm using Odoban because dressers, especially old dressers, can smell stinky. And this one had a little bit of an odor. So I just sprayed it as good as I could and then put the new hardware back on. And then let me show you what it looked like before. And this is what it looks like after. Oh my gosh, this turned out so much better than what I expected. I had no idea. The top was not in terrible condition, but it had a bunch of scratches. And remember, we had that deep gouge we had to figure out how to hide. And so it looks fantastic. Now you'll notice I didn't put the applique back on. I decided I liked it better without it. And I'm glad that I kept the original hardware and just used Rub and Buff to clean those up. I wasn't trying to completely transform this piece so that it was unrecognizable. I really wanted to keep it as authentic as I could, minus the applique that I took off. But overall, I think it looks amazing. I think it still sort of looks like itself, and it looks like a piece from the 30s or 40s. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go and do your own projects. We spend a lot of time watching other people do projects. We get scared that we can't do it. We don't feel like we're creative enough. But I don't think that's the case. I think you are creative. You are somebody who's going to make mistakes. You see in this video, I made mistakes. It's not perfect. But what I'm proud of is that I kept going. I didn't let the fear of what if this doesn't turn out be a reason why I just put it in the corner and forget about it. So if you're looking for inspiration, look at some of my other videos, go to my blog, thriftdiving.com, and check out the gallery. There are tons of tutorials to help you finish your projects. And if you want another project and you didn't see this, check out how I totally transformed these rusty metal cabinets. And if you want more content, I've got a podcast. There are over 140 episodes where I'm digging in behind the scenes of what really happens when I do DIY projects. All right, I will see you and I will talk to you next project.